What's up, teammates? Remember, I'm in the middle of the series, and right now I should be doing the offensive line of the Chiefs and how it compares to ours. But it's kind of hard to get that together. It's hard to figure out, why this offensive line is better than them because you can't necessarily compare player to player. Then you have to compare the numbers. I couldn't compare their abilities, so I tried to do a total number by the PFF score. None of it was really making any sense. And like for whatever reason, I just thought I ended up thinking, well, what about sacks? So we'll use sacks as a part of a measure. And the sacks were high. I look at it, it's like, oh yeah, if you look at it, it seems like Aiden O'Connell takes twice as many sacks as Patrick Mahomes, and yeah, the lines aren't doing well because of those type of things. But then, I started looking into the numbers and I started thinking about this. Everybody gets to say, since Antonio Pierce took over the defense this. Since Antonio Pierce took over, the defense is the number one scorer. Since Pierce took over, the defense has been changed. He came in and changed the defense and made it so much better, and it helped them to start performing to where they could win because the defense was holding it down and shutting people out, averaging 16 points at the end of the season. That's good work. So now what we need is the offense, and we had an offense that had not scored 20 points the entire season. The most our offensive mustered up was 19 points. And then we got safety to get us up to 21. So the offense was dismal. So the second half of the season, the offense scores over 20 points 6 out of 10 times. Is that great? No. But is it better than 0 for 8? Yes. So we're looking at things, how they're improving under the Antonio Pierce era. And I said, well, the defense can have all the breaks at once, right? Before the Antonio Pierce era. Because before that, it doesn't matter. All the mistakes and anything the defense did before then, it doesn't really matter. Because it was under Josh McDaniels. And somehow Josh McDaniels was holding back the defense, even though he was the offensive guru, whatever. So now we progress to the AP era, where the defense is just dominating because AP went to Pat Graham and said, I see what you're doing. Maybe we should do a little more of this, and we're going to let you go, so we'll do a little more of that. I think our defense will be better this way. Okay. And our defense was good, and it got better because of Antonio Pierce. He saved the defense. He helped save the defense. So who saved the offense? Was it our offensive coordinator? It was the quarterback coach that came in and he did such a good job that we were able to perform so much better as an offense compared to what was going on in the first 8 games? That doesn't seem very likely, especially if he was so good at calling plays. He would still have a job, right? And as many people want to say that Aiden's fighting for his job and not, look, he's a starter. Antonio Pierce already said he's the starter come game 1 unless he loses his job. But everybody's the starter come day 1 once they've been named starter unless they lose their job. And anybody can lose their job. That doesn't mean Aiden's going to lose his. Especially once we consider what Aiden O'Connell has done in the Antonio Pierce era, where, dare I say, it was 80% Aiden O'Connell and 20% of whatever the offensive coordinator could muster up. Because the offensive coordinator wasn't what came in and changed the whole damn scene. He was a quarterback coach. Quarterback came in and changed the whole daggone scene. And that's what I want to look at because I got the numbers about what Aiden O'Connell did in the Antonio Pierce era. When the lead of the offense was basically Aiden O'Connell. The quarterback coach wasn't getting in there and trying to run it during the in the huddle. The quarterback coach wasn't the run talking to the guys and getting the motivation going. The quarterback coach was the one putting in the plays, but still, I'm sure he was working with Aiden O'Connell on those plays. I'm sure that they were going hand in hand on where they're going with that. It wasn't just all him. I'm sure he had to get some help from Aiden. That's why only way they could be on the same page. So we got a new quarterback coach calling the offense, and he's working with our quarterback to get it done. Aiden's is half to a third of our offensive coordinator's job because he's relying on Aiden to tell him what we should do depending on what Aiden thinks is best for him. So Aiden O'Connell's doing 30% of the thinking as far as plays designing goes. He's doing all the thinking on the field. Why wouldn't he get credit for turning the offense around if it turned around, right? That makes sense to me. If Pierce is the savior to the defense because what he was able to do, step in and odds the field, Aiden O'Connell should be the savior of the offense because of what he was able to come in and do on the field. So let's look at Aiden O'Connell's numbers. Okay. First of all, we already talked about the the games where we're over 20 points, 20 and over. We're going to get to these other numbers before I get to my favorite number and then see how everybody crumbles under the pressure of that number. And nobody's going to be able to say anything. And all they're going to be able to say is it's skewed because it's under Antonio Pierce era and it's not full sample. This is going to be my favorite part. Just wait for it, okay? Now under Antonio Pierce era, he's 11-4 as far as his touchdown to interception ratio. That's almost a 3-to-1 touchdown TD ratio. That's fabulous if you ask me. We were 3-5 under McDoofus and Jimmy Glass. Under Aiden O'Connell, we end up going 5-4. We have a winning record under Aiden O'Connell, and that's just not satisfying for people. Why? Because he gets sacked too much. Because he's not mobile and he can't create plays outside the pocket. First of all, he is able to create plays outside the pocket, and he's able to extend plays very much so. His critics say that he can't because that's what they choose to say. As one example, I would just like to point out, if you were watching and you don't want to, you don't think Aiden can create, just look at Michael Mayer's first touchdown. Michael Mayer's got a great catch in the back of the end zone because the ball was thrown in the right area. The ball was thrown in the right area after the play had broken down, and Aiden scrambled to the right, and Big Mike made himself available in the back of the end zone. So that's off. He can't scramble. He can't extend plays. He's not a complete statue every time. And speaking of him being a complete statue every time, what that means is he takes too many sacks, right? That's the knock. He can't move and he takes too many sacks. That's the big thing. And people will say what they say, and they will drive a point home to the ends of all anything without knowing a daggone thing of what they're talking about. In the Antonio Pierce era, Aiden O'Connell averages 1.7 sacks a game. 1.7 sacks a game under the Antonio Pierce regime. Because we get to judge the defense, what happens under the Antonio Pierce regime. Shouldn't we be able to judge the offense, what happened under the Antonio Pierce regime? Shouldn't we be giving some credit to whoever saved the offense, considering We weren't putting up 20 points at all in the first half of the season. And then in the second half of the season, at least we were able to muster up 20 points, 6 out of the 10 games. And even one of the games we didn't score 20 points, we won. So the offense changed dramatically. And who gets the credit for that? Who, the offensive coordinator? Who could only do 75 to 70% of his job? Or is it the quarterback? Because that's the only other change we made. But why doesn't Aiden get any credit for that? I don't know. Why is the biggest talk that he takes too many sacks when he has the third lowest sack rate since the Antonio Pierce era? I don't know. What I do know is people love to speak whether they know or not. So Aiden defenders and those of us who are out there who say we think Aiden can do it and we think Aiden's a good quarterback, we're not saying that because of what we feel. We're not saying that just because we want someone else because we don't think Aiden's, we'll say, sexy enough as a quarterback. He's not as cool as Joe Cool. He's not as attractive as a Tom Brady. He's not as fast as a Lamar Jackson. There's no frills and thrills about Aiden O'Connell to that point where, people are turned off by his look or his feel. Whatever it is, people are turned off by Aiden. That's fine. But these numbers here in the Antonio Pierce era, and I keep saying that because people are allowed to say what the defense did in the Antonio Pierce era and celebrate that. Why aren't we able to celebrate how much the offense changed in the Antonio Pierce era? Because if you look at this, dag nabbit, it changed a lot. It improved a lot. And a lot of it, if not all, was on the efforts of Aiden O'Connell and what he was able to do as a quarterback of this offense that Jimmy Glass and Josh McDoofus couldn't. Okay? We had an offensive coordinator that was really just supposed to be the quarterback coach. Nothing to do with the offense. We had Aiden O'Connell, who hadn't got any decent reps. In the one game that he played, it's well known now, we all are more accepting of the fact that, yeah, he was sabotaged by Josh McDaniels. That's well accepted. I was saying it way back then. But now, it's accepted. Back then, I was crazy. Anyway, back to Aiden O'Connell saving the offense. If people don't want to say that's what happened, then they got the right to say whatever they want to say. But if people want to think, look, analyze, and realize what actually happened, they can come to the silver lining and get some numbers. Get some truth, not some opinion. Some graded opinion, some informed opinion, yes. Because anybody who look at the defense and have the nerve to say that Antonio Pierce is the reason the defense jumped off, okay? Antonio Pierce coming in and changing things around helped the defense because he's the defensive mind. Who came in and changed the offense around and made the offense better? Was it the offensive coordinator who doesn't have a job right now? Or maybe it was the quarterback who is currently the starter for the team he still plays on. Why doesn't Aiden get any credit for that? Because they don't want to look at that. They don't want to show the credit for it. They don't want to see the silver lining that Aiden has brought into this team. If they would only look at the numbers, they could see themselves. If they would only decide to be excited about our team, if they will only decide to hope well for our team instead of angrily looking down upon the decisions of the GM and technically AP, although everybody loves AP, I do. Everybody loves how AP's a straight shooter and he tells the truth, right? And he's telling the truth about everything. He's shooting it straight, unless it comes down to Aiden O'Connell, and he's lying about Aiden O'Connell. He's lying to us about Aiden O'Connell. He says he feels like Aiden O'Connell is his star, but everybody else is saying Antonio Pierce is lying about that. That and only that. Everything else, he's straight. Anyway, the silver lining is bright and it's so shining. The dark clouds is shrinking. I don't even argue with people about the Aiden O'Connell starting thing anymore. The only reason I brought it up this time is because the little research I was doing about the offensive line, and it just really blew my mind to see how few sacks Aiden actually took under the Antonio Pierce regime and how hard they go on him for taking too many sacks. I don't understand it. They'd rather stay in the dark than look for the silver lining. So, remember, you can't win them all, and the clouds do get dark. But when you look for something bright, come to the silver lining. Guru out.